Well, thank you everyone for being here. We're right at the hour, 12 p.m. This is virtual training, self-care and marginalized communities. We're really excited to have Stacy Singh and Lily Talmant here with us for what I'm sure will be an incredible training and discussion. Stacy is a family peer advisor who researches, develops trainings to expand the knowledge of family and youth serving workforce. She joined the advisory team because she loves working and connecting with people. Stacy believes that it's a privilege when people open up to you, and she doesn't take it for granted. Stacy, who is originally from the beautiful island of Trinidad and Tobago, lives in Brooklyn. To de-stress from work, she tries to focus on other parts of her life to feel balanced. Lily Talmant is a youth peer advisor at the SFC Center and a former elementary school teacher. Lily is very involved in her local community in New Jersey, volunteering on the weekends, learning how to answer national suicide hotline calls, and hosting karaoke parties in her backyard. That sounds fun. I want an invite next time.
Oh, everybody's invited. Everybody's invited. It's the whole crew. You've got to be able to hang with Jersey people.
Great. So welcome, Stacy and Lily, and I will turn it over to you.
I truly appreciate it. That was such a warm and wonderful welcome and introduction. I actually feel like you know me.
I know.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, so everything he said about me is true. And I think we're going to wait a couple of minutes, at least until 12:05, to allow people some time to come in. Yeah, fun fact, I'm the mom of quite a few. So I have a lot of that skill under my belt, which, lands me in the family peer advocacy or advisory, support very strongly in that space. I'm also a coach for moms. So it's not just the work that I do, is actually the work that I live. So I'm extremely happy to be here, and something that is very near and dear to me. I'm a self-love coach on the outside, other than doing this work, which is connected to self-care. Yeah, so it's part of my passion. I love it, and glad that you guys have us here.
Yeah, that was such a nice introduction. I guess I'll, why not? We have a couple of minutes. Like all of that stuff was true as well for me. I am a teacher. I'm also my partner is a teacher, and so like I love school. I love working with kids. I volunteer on the weekends with kids with special needs. So I'm really just passionate about anything having to relate to improving kids' lives. So, and I really am excited to talk about self-care. I hope that you will learn things that surprise you and are exciting. Yeah. Looks like
fun. We're gonna have a good time. This is one of the lighter trainings. It's interactive, lots of there's parts that are not so interactive, and there are parts that are pretty interactive, and you'll understand more about that as we go along. So we are looking, it becomes more alive when you participate. So we're looking for your participation. And it's just a few of us here. So can we go around and introduce ourselves just for the, and I know as people come in, we're not going to have everyone do that. So I just want us to feel a little more connected and welcomed. So before our guests come in, we would like to have a moment. Okay, and Anne-Marie, thank you, is having video issues, but if you can drop your intro in the chat, just your name and what do you do, that would be excellent. We have a very, very new person to our team. We're so excited to have with us, which is Muhammad. Muhammad used to come to our trainings. It's so wonderful. And now he is a part of our team. And what's most exciting is when he used to come to our trainings, you can see that he would sit on his hands so that he can just try not to overshare or take over for other people to, and now you get to come in and do what we do. So I am truly excited. You don't have to sit on your hands anymore. You are one of us. I love that for you. So you want to tell a little bit about yourself?
Hello. Yes. I'm Mohammed. I'm the new youth peer advisor here at the SFC. Thank you for the introduction, Stacey.
You're welcome.
one thing about me is that I used to be a youth peer advocate, so now I'm youth peer advisor. So I just like to learn and explore different ways I can not only uh, grow, but also just a way to find new ways to help the community, help people, because helping our community and just advocating for our community looks like in it looks different. And I think that's also the beautiful part because it's like it's not one thing, it's like multiple things. You can do multiple things to help the community. So that's something I'm here to explore.
I love it. Again, welcome and thank you for that. All right.
All right, it's 12:05. So yeah, officially welcome to our training on self-care in marginalized communities.
Yes. And as you have met, I am Stacy Singh. I'm one of the family peer advisors here. A pleasure to be with you. Look forward to doing this training with you, and thank you for having us.
Yep. Like I said before, my name is Lily Talmont, and I'm a youth peer advisor here at the SFC. And yeah, we're really excited to be collabing with N.A.P.S. I hope is it N.A.P.S. or is it N.A.P.S? I'm gonna say that. Alrighty.
Okay. So we're going to go over some community agreements. One mic, which, it's a little different when we're in a virtual space. So we want you to stay muted until you have or desire to say something. One primary reason for that is because sometimes the background noise and we get some pleasant surprises that pops up into it. And this is being recorded. So we don't want you to sometimes be shocked or embarrassed by what comes in, especially if you have kids like I do. There's no telling what they're coming into the space with. So just stay muted until, and just respecting the space so everyone can feel seen and heard within the community. We will listen with a line. I like to say, do not yuck anyone's yums, meaning if it, you may not necessarily agree with it, but just be open to find out where another person is coming from or, what it is we're trying to communicate. No question is a bad question. What I realize about this is that sometimes what you have going on in your mind, someone else has also. And if not, you haven't, sometimes people don't think about the question that you're asking, but there's definitely a space. I'm the type of person, if I don't have a question, I love sticking around for Q&As because I'm like, wow, I didn't think about that. Or I would have thought about it later. So it just kind of expedites the moment for the questions to be asked. Remain present. This is your space. It is for you and about you. We are here for you, totally and holistically for you. So we would like for you to, mute your phone if you can, and like really put the attention because we have, we're excited to share this information and we really want you to come out with something. Challenge the ideas and not the person. That kind of goes with listen with an open mind. Really try to find out what the perspective is behind what's being stated. Be mindful of respecting the space. That just pretty much summarize everything. This is a judgment-free zone, right? So we totally understand we're not looking for perfection. You're going to see us stutter and fumble, and that's okay. We are humans, and we will continue to be humans in this space. And last but definitely not least, we're going to have fun.
Great. Thank you, Stacy. Here are our learning objectives for today. So first, we're going to do a walkthrough of the history of self-care in American society. We're going to talk about self-care and communities of color, and then we're going to talk about practicing radical self-care for our health and well-being. And here's our agenda. Like I said, we're going to walk through the history, then we're going to talk about what is radical self-care versus what I call the wellness industry. We're going to talk about what self-care means for marginalized communities. Then we're going to take a little break. And then we're going to talk about self-care as essential care and some tips and tricks. We're not going to leave you here empty-handed.
Whoop, whoop. Tips and tricks. All right. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So we have a little icebreaker for you. And we want you to think about ways that you practice self-care at work. If you can, write it in the chat. I know it's not a lot of us here, so which means even more so, we're going to need the participation as much as possible. How do you practice self-care at work? And one way would be sufficient. If you want to write two, that's absolutely fine, but don't want you feeling forced to write down too much. Oh, Muhammad said, giving myself a 10-minute break away from the computer and phone to refresh myself. That is so important. And please correct me if I say this wrong. Is Isa?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
Lisa.
I love it. Taking a break to walk when I can, right? Sometimes you can even feel the blood circulating. Your feet just go. "Ah." I love that. I love that. Do you want to say more on that, Isa? Or
I'm just basically a house plant with legs, so I need air and water way more than maybe the average person. Yesterday I was in a funk, woke up in a gnarly funk, and almost couldn't even face the day. And then at some point I went for a walk and I was like, oh, I'm okay now. Like, sun, moving my legs. This is amazing. So it's interesting how sometimes the thing that you don't want to do is the thing that is helpful, you know. So yeah.
I've learned everything about that. At least give it a try. And I love that. A house plant with legs.
I love that.
I
I want
love
a
it. I
t-shirt
love
with
it.
that.
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you for sharing.
Love that.
We have here, I like to go for a walk around my neighborhood when things get a little stressful. Nice. Would you like to share a little bit what that does for you? If not, it's okay.
Sure, it's fine. I'll participate since it's a small group of us. No, I have a just kind of a little, neighborhood that just kind of loops around, and getting out at least once a day, sometimes just to walk the dog, sort of helps reset when things can just sort of pile up and thoughts are going all different sorts of ways. And it's just kind of, and when I get back, I can it's kind of like taking a nice deep breath to sort of reset.
I love it. I love it. Resetting is so important. So important. I love that for you. All right. Anne-Marie said, I practice self-care by chewing minty gum. That way I can be mindful of that taste and smell. Oh, we have a centering person. Yes. The power of now. That's what it makes me think of. The Eckhart Tolle power of now. Love it. Love it. Anne, would you like to say anything about that?
No, I just do that, and then I also have, you know, one of those koosh balls that the teachers used to throw. I don't necessarily like the stress balls, so I use that as well. I'm kind of a sensory person.
I love it. You know what? I'm going to chew gum just for that. I'm a gum popper myself, and I think that brings me into the moment of now. But just thinking about the smell and the taste, yeah, yeah. I focus on the taste and the popping. That's neither here nor there. And Miriam, I remain quiet until 10 a.m. Nice, and only address items I don't need to speak until then. I also make multiple trips to get water. Oh, I hear boundaries. I hear self-care. I hear a lot going on there. Would you like to elaborate on that a little bit first, Marianne?
Yeah, sure. I do crises all day.
Oh, I
So
get
from
it.
the moment I wake up, and my boundaries are horrible because I will answer what is it? I need to complete things before I feel my day is done. So I might still be sending emails at 7. That's a crap boundary. But the thing is, I try to just find my center for whoever is going to call, because folks are going to call me frantic and angry and all kind of, things. The other half of that is I live with 4 little people, So I have 4 grandchildren that frequent in and out of my house. 2 are 4, 1 is 2, 1 is 1. I have a 17-year-old. So all day and all night, I'm juggling, getting them ready for school or answering questions or so by the time it's time for work, I have everything I need open and available for them without question. Whatever cuddling they need, they get it at the drop of a dime. But when they're done, I shut down and regroup, refocus, and get my head ready for what are the challenges I'm about to meet. And that means I have to remain quiet. That's what I've learned. Remain quiet to just find some solace and some balance and some ability to say, all right, let's answer that phone, right? And now I'm that great customer service. Hi, how are you? How can I do? My kids teeth like, where did you get that voice from? I don't get that voice. I'm like, you're not those people. Now get out. So so that's how I do my balancing. But and then the multiple trips to the water. I don't bring a whole thing. I get a big cup, I drink, and then when I feel like it's getting too much, I'm like, oh, I think I need to get a new glass of water. And I just stop, because I know that life is not going to stop because I stopped for this second.
Right.
I stop, go get my water, come back, take that breath again. And I'm like, okay, let's go, right? Until it's over. But thank you.
Wow. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. That's
I
really, I connected with a lot of that.
Yes, so did I. So did I. I love that for you. And you started off by saying you're horrible at boundaries. It sounds like you got them really very much intact.
I'm horrible about stopping because my job is technically 9 to 5, right? But if I'm still answering emails at 7 because
Got it.
I don't want you to be lingering all night long for a simple answer, I will keep going until it's all clear out my cues. And then I'm like, okay, that's it. Right. That's the bad part. Well, it's not bad, but that's just my stickler.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Thank you for sharing. You guys have well, you all have a lot of goodies and techniques, and I hope that we're all like really taking them on because we can definitely utilize that. And that's what we're here for, right? So that we can all learn and grow with each other and from each other. So I hear 2 things that I'm doing. One, I don't need to have a gallon of water at the desk. I can get up and get it. One, I'm hearing I can get my steps in. And that chewing of the gum, yeah, I'm adopting those 2 things for sure. If I don't take anything else, and yeah, I love it.
It's really cool.
All right. So the definition of self-care. Self-care is the practice of maintaining holistic well-being by individuals and or communities. It also includes coping with illness and or disability in tandem with professionals when necessary. Right? So that is like the textbook definition of self-care. What comes up for you when you hear self-care? What came up when you heard that definition? And is it in alignment with what you know it to be, or is it not in alignment with what you know it to be? Anyone? Okay. Anne-Marie has a hand. Yes, Anne-Marie.
I think it really does align with what I believe in, especially since I'm unemployed and trying to do the Ticket to Work program, and I'm working with professionals trying to get accommodations for my next job. I have had jobs in the past, but never been able to get accommodations out of work. I mean, out of school, in high school and college. So I feel like this definitely is a form of self-care because the whole point of it is I want a job that can last for a couple of years. Usually I burn out by 6 months, and I don't want that to happen again just because I don't get accommodations and need to, unfortunately cater to my disability.
I love that. And that sounds like something that I do. It makes me think of something that I do, Anne Marie. And what I hear you saying is that you want something that's in alignment with who you are and how in your lifestyle, right? And can accommodate to that. So that is definitely self-care. Sometimes, some of us go out and we look for a job because we need a job. And then we come to find out we don't like the job and we force ourselves to be in the job because we need the money. But I'm hearing that you're being very strategic about that. So yeah, kudos for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And good luck on your endeavor. I hope you find something that is in alignment and that works for you and your lifestyle. Thanks for sharing. All right. We can go to the next slide because we're going to learn a lot about what self-care means. Okay. So don't worry. There's a lot to learn here. All right. So give me just 1 second. I do not have my glasses today, everyone. So I had a little joke earlier that my daughter says she can see the 11 lines on my forehead. So get ready because they're coming. They're coming. So that was the definition of self-care. And the definition of marginalized communities are the social groups who are systematically excluded, disadvantaged, or oppressed within a society. This marginalization can occur due to various factors, including but not limited to race, ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, disability, religion, and immigrant status. So when you think about marginalized communities, you're also thinking about the communities that face discrimination, limited access to resources and opportunities, and increased vulnerability to social, economic, and health disparities. Can someone give one example or a couple of examples of who would be considered to be fit, that would fit into marginalized communities? What's a community that comes to mind?
Isa, is that a hand?
Yeah, I forgot to do the digital hand. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about
it. I personally am a member of 3 marginalized communities. I'm Black, I'm Puerto Rican, and I'm queer. So to me, obviously race and sexual orientation and/or gender, but obviously there's in this society, in the American society, is my belief that if you're not Christian, if you're of another religion, you're also a marginalized community to a large extent, especially outside of New York City. So those are just some examples. And I'm a Buddhist. I'm not Christian at all. So I just realized there's another community that I belong to. Although I wouldn't say Buddhists are marginalized. But anyway, in this greater society, American society, it feels very much like if you're not Christian, you're definitely marginalized to a certain extent. So I would say race, ethnicity, sexual orientation / gender, and religion for sure.
Definitely.
Nice. So Issa, you alone named about 5 of them.
Yeah, hence why I signed up for this workshop.
And I appreciate that. But here's the good news. And, some may not see it as good news, is there's so many more, right? Like we wish that it would just stop right there. And that was the gist of it. Anyone else could name some what other communities that would be considered marginalized?
Mohammed?
So any immigrant community. I know, like, not a lot of people know that I had to get my citizenship. Like I wasn't born here. So even then it's like, I'm not from here. So, and every now and then, like, I don't have an accent, but I'll say certain words in a particular way. And they'll be like, that's a very interesting way you said it. Why, like, where are you from? Or like that question of where are you really from? But because I'm Pakistani, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So there are some more.
Yeah.
Okay, I have room for one more. Anyone else want to name some marginalized communities?
Emery.
I was thinking the LGBTQIA two-spirit community and other indigenous.
Right. So we're close to 10 at this point. And there's more, right? The Amish community. Yes, absolutely. People with disabilities are considered marginalized, immigrants, refugees, just being a woman, is, marginalized communities, and anyone that is living and experiencing poverty or homelessness. Like all of these things are considered marginalized, and there's more, right? And that's just the big grouping of them, and then you have subgroups within them.
Yeah.
So
How about over 60 and don't look like it?
right, absolutely. Single moms, single grandparents, like the list goes on and on. So I just wanted to make sure that we're doing a training on self-care and marginalized community. So we just wanted to make sure that we're clear on what self-care is and what marginalized communities are. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
One thing I
Yeah.
wanted to point out that we
Mhm.
discussed is different marginalized communities and identities that you can see versus you can't see. Like you can see somebody's race. You might, hear someone's accent or make assumptions. You can't necessarily see someone's religion. Well, maybe you can for different piece of clothing or jewelry. But sorry, my computer's being weird. But yeah, that also plays a role.
Absolutely.
Care. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Sorry, I just said it unexpectedly. Okay. Screen off for a second.
Yeah. So just to speak on that, like there are, it's almost limitless as to how that shows up, right? So when she comes, oh, there you are. You're on mute, Lily.
I'm so sorry, everybody. That was so strange. Let me share my screen again.
These are the pros and cons when we live in a world of technology.
Now you guys get to see. Here we go. Okay. Sorry about that.
We need you to share it. Oh, yeah,
Can
there
you
we
guys
go.
see it?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Great. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Sorry, everybody. Alrighty. So now we're going to chat a little bit about the history of self-care. And the beginnings of self-care really start, in my opinion, in the late 19th century labor movement. So this was an era where most lower class white Americans were working in factories, sometimes over 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. And in the 1880s, 1890s, there were labor movements all across the United States that demanded a shorter work day, better pay, and time for leisure in the American day. So this is kind of the first time where we see Americans en masse collectively demand for time and money and resources to keep themselves safe, to take care of themselves. And I also want to point this out that this was largely lower class white people that were part of this. Black people and different marginalized communities were very much excluded from these movements in lots of ways. Then I'm going to fast forward to 1950 in the mid 20th century, so post World War II. There was a massive change in American society. Consumer goods were way more available to middle class Americans because of the GI Bill. Veterans who had served in World War II were able to go to college and pursue professional careers. So middle-class white Americans had way more disposable income. They were able to buy homes and dishwashers and all of these things that freed up time in their day. And so, like, I really think about self-care not only as actions, but the time to do that action and to have that moment of peace, So that's really like the origins, is thinking about how changes in American society structured our days differently, gave us more resources and more access to things that enable us to do self-care. Okay. So then we move on to medical self-care. This is where the term, like the actual words self-care, were really put together for the first time. And it began in the medical field in the 1950s, where people who were working in hospitals, so like EMTs and social workers and nurses and surgeons and doctors. The American Medical Association said, we need a term to tell these people to take care of themselves because they are in burdensome or emotionally draining fields. So it was for them to cope with their work. And then what happened was doctors used the term to encourage patients to adopt healthy habits. So that's how it trickled down. And another thing to point out, and that's why I have this picture in the screen here, is doctors were largely white men. A lot of these people receiving this kind of healthcare were white, because we know that during segregation, and Jim Crow, hospitals were legally able to dismiss Black patients and not refuse to see them. So again, we see this trend where like these rights to self-care are afforded to white Americans and not Black Americans. Okay. All right. So then we start talking about self-care and the civil rights movement. So civil rights leaders like MLK Jr. really embraced self-care as a political act. MLK thought that the prosecution of Black bodies was one of the most evil forms of structural racism. So I'm just curious, what do you think he meant by that? Like, what do you think he was referring to by saying like the prosecution of Black bodies in the 1960s? Feel free to put it in the chat or say it out loud. I could also say it again because I was kind of fast. I was kind of trying to catch up a little bit.
You might have to tell us, Lily.
All right, I'll tell you. That's okay. So I think what MLK meant by that is what I just said. So like Black folks were usually living in the rural South, largely in the 1960s, and in areas where there wasn't a lot of healthcare to begin with. So, for example, if your grandmother had a heart attack, you might have to drive an hour to the nearest hospital, but that hospital were well within U.S. law to refuse services. So that meant that you had to either go on to a different hospital that could have been way farther away, or like someone could die. People died because of these practices. People died because of police brutality and all these other things that we see today. But MLK thought that the rules in our society that made it so that Black people could not take care of themselves, could not have healthy minds, bodies, and homes, that was one of the cruelest forms. So the Black Panthers, around the same time, they really took this and put it into action. So they created free health clinics in Oakland, California, and in New York City. They created literacy programs for kids in Black communities. They had soup kitchens like the one you can see here for children in the community to be able to have a hot lunch. And they saw all of this as self-care. I know that we say self and it sounds like individual, but as MLK and the Black Panthers show us, is that it's really not just about one person, it's about the collective. And that's what these movements were really about. Okay, now I'll get to my favorite part. So Black radical feminist self-care was really created by this gorgeous woman on the screen, Audre Lorde. So I'm gonna read probably the most famous quote of hers about self-care, and I'd really love to just hear your reaction to it. So the quote, it's right here, is caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. So I'm just curious, what comes up for you when you hear Miss Lorde's quote?
Yes,
Isa?
I can speak from my perspective as a person who's both Black and Puerto Rican, that in the face of white supremacy, when you can find joy and you can find care for yourself and the people in your communities, that flies in the face of exactly what it is that white supremacists want for you. And so it feels very radical, and very much like staking your claim as worthy of these things that the white supremacist body takes for granted. We don't take these things for granted because they're not afforded to us easily. And so carving out time to choose joy. I know for my son, he's a Black male, he's only 17, and he's faced with so many obstacles. And my main concern and my main priority is to make sure that while he does face the fact that he has a life that will involve racism on some level, that his life gets to be joyful and it gets to be filled with care for himself and for the people that he loves, and that his joy and that his well-being is radical, because that's not what the white supremacist body wants for us. So it flies in the face of being conforming to the status quo.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's like, I really think that's the essence of what Audre Lorde was getting at. Does anyone else have a reaction they'd like to share? Mohammed?
It's also it's also the part of like, this is an act of political warfare. It's like it's not just a matter of I'm taking care of myself. It's like making a deliberate and known stance of like, I will be taking care of myself, not because I want to, but because I need to, but because like my work, my life depends on it. It's not just a fact of like, I'm just gonna take a break. No, I need to take a break because my livelihood depends on it. And it's like, oftentimes, you know, so much is happening in society and in our culture. It's like, it really feels like we're getting attacked, like our bodies and our minds are getting attacked. So caring for yourself is like, it's like fighting back against that.
Absolutely. I loved the language that you used, because I think I was thinking about that this morning. You know, political warfare, right? The word warfare is really powerful. But something about war is that there's always enemies on both sides. Like there's a fight. You have to be fighting someone else. And like both of you use that language, it's like, well, against white supremacy, against these other things. And so I have here, Lorde really thought that self-care was to resist these many forms of anti-life surrounding us. So that might be white supremacy, that might be homophobia. You know, she was a queer woman who grew up in different places around the Caribbean. She lived in Mexico, she lived in New York. And, you know, in the 1960s, so wasn't particularly accepting of who she was. And so she had to be radical and take care of herself. I always think about these quotes in the context of Lorde as someone who lived with cancer for a period in her life. And she did pass away, I think, from complications from that cancer when she was in her early 50s. So survival was a key goal of her life. Like, this is something that she thought about all the time. So I always think about that in the context.
Right, Lily and Anne-Marie in the chat. Thank you for that. Like, all of this is absolutely true. Anne-Marie wrote, the acts of ableist, racist, classist, sexist, etc., society's norm in attempting to gain control of Black bodies in marginalized Black communities can be combated by taking care of oneself and politically dismantles the norms and socio-political status of Black bodies in communities. And can you please help me pronounce this? I'm going to take a shot at it. Binoche. Can I get a thumbs up? A thumbs up? Or a correction? Okay. until I get the corrected version. All
Yes.
right,
Okay, cool.
Benaj. I took my time with that one, Benaj.
Mhm.
Because you matter and we're caring for ourselves. Right. Our basic rights.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing and using the chat.
Yes, thank you so much. We could talk all day about this, but
We really can.
we'll expand on it a little bit. So we're gonna go back. Oh, why did it go ahead? I'm sorry, y'all. I swear I've used Zoom before. So the 1960s and 70s were a really influential time for how we think about self-care, and American society, kind of swung in one way. It was very progressive. We saw a lot of progressive legislation passed. But the pendulum always has to swing the other way, doesn't it? So in the 1980s, of course, we see the election of Ronald Reagan. We see a lot more conservative politics, and some progressive, but still. So the U.S. government in the 1980s actively dismantled different Black Panther programs. So the free clinics and the soup kitchens, they actively shut them down. And the 1980s also saw the rise of the wellness industry. So there is this act, it was passed in 1974. It's called the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. It was really important because it gave people, no matter what their race, class, creed, color, religion, gender, the right to open a bank account and a credit card. Because before this time, women usually had to get permission from their husbands or their fathers, and they had to be monitored. So they couldn't just have their own money and spend their own money in any which way they wanted. So by the 1980s, women had access to a credit card, and because of Title IX in the 1970s, a lot of them had gone to college more than ever before. So the 1980s was set up perfectly to have a wellness industry developed because you had a lot of white women with access to a credit card who had professional jobs, which meant there was a lot of money to be made off of selling them things like jazzercise, which is like a really silly example, but jazzercise is really just bespoke exercise. So if you walk in Manhattan, you're gonna bump into an Equinox or a Soul Cycle or whatever they are, or like those Pilates things, like with the machines, like all of that is just the 2024 version of jazzercise. That's all it is. It's fancy exercise that's really expensive. And I mentioned like it's for white women because a lot of this stuff is marketed towards white women. This is the way that you're told how to take care of yourself. This is going to make your under eyes glow. This is going to make you, it's stress reducing, whatever. These products that promise you, beauty and glory and all of these wonderful things, when in reality, they're just people trying to make a quick buck. So that's kind of where our two paths divulge, where we think about, radical feminist self-care, which is what Audre Lorde was talking about, which is really about collective action and systemic change for our communities. And then we see the concept of self-care, like put on this $500 face mask or go to this Pilates class and, pull little levers or whatever they do. So yeah. So I'm really curious if anything surprised you about the history of self-care, and does this history change any of the ways that you viewed self-care before?
I know I brought up something for someone.
Oh, I keep doing that. I'm sorry.
So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to leave space because I really want to hear like what stood out for you. But Lily is quite a researcher and she takes her researching very seriously. And always when I am facilitating with her or just sitting back, sometimes I'm sitting in awe. And she always goes into the history of what is happening. Right. So something that came up for me as a person, in marginalized or considered, marginalized, is that we do not take the opportunity that we can. We may not have access to do everything and the way that it's seen and the way the system is designed to oppress us and keep us oppressed to an extent. There are people that have been out there fighting for us for a long time. Yes, we knew it, but when you put it into the context of how there was work on top of work, that people laid down the foundation, they've laid down the platform for us to continue to move forward. And it would be a waste, and I will not be doing my due diligence by not taking care of myself. For me to sit here and have the opportunity and the right to speak and say how I feel as much as I can and where I can, my job is to add on to that. So when I take care of myself, I give others the permission, because they gave us permission in the fight that they have the fight that they have put forth up until this point. I give others the permission to keep the work going and to know that they do matter, and we can. Every little bit matters. That is what surprised me in just looking at it. It wasn't anything specific about the history, but it made me reflect. Anne Marie?
I love that. And I was thinking personally with you know, how it was people who had privilege first, like coming up and starting the movements, that it's really important for me to look at the intersectionality of things and where I have privilege and where I have more, you know, a marginalized status. But I think that it's really important to be an ally, and because I think that everybody, any type of oppression affects everybody, in my opinion. So
Yeah. And there are people that lost their lives for this movement so that we can matter, so that we can fight this good fight, right? And you named people like, and it's people that we sit there and go, oh, they're loud and, you know, obnoxious. And sometimes that's what it takes for us to move forward in a particular way. We need the bold, the beautiful, the outrageous. We need people that's a little bit crazy considered in today's, today, because that's the label, right? Once we are fighting for our rights and we're looking to step forward, we're seen a little bit crazy and a little bit loud, but that's what it takes, because we want to be heard and we deserve. Benaj said it earlier, just for our basic rights.
Yeah.
Just for our basic rights. All we want is to be equal, and you matter, right? So wonderful. Which goes into the self-care of today. You know, we have the Black radical feminists that felt that self-care was marginalized by a wellness industry that the market quick fixes as self-care. We remember the Thigh Master. You remember the Thigh Master? That was considered self-care. I always forget, Lily, I forget his name every time. I need to write it down.
Oh, the dancer guy? I forget too.
Yeah, you see, you know who I'm talking about, because I always go to him. I don't know why he pops into my mind when he did that. Richard Simmons. Was it Richard Simmons? Richard
I think
Simmons,
so.
the working out. Like, if you do this, you're practicing self-care. But he was also part of a marginalized community, right? Because he was part of the LGBTQ as well. But there are so many things that people have fought for. Low-income people of color feel excluded from self-care as a result, because it is seen as something for the wealthy. So what are some things that you felt as though you couldn't do because it was seen as something for the wealthy? I'll give you a quick example. For me, it used to be seen for the wealthy taking a vacation. So if I wasn't able to take a vacation, I wasn't worthy of taking my PTO, right? Because how dare I sit at home and do nothing? Especially when you have children and you have families to care for. Like, that's what came up for me. Anyone else? Especially for my dad, he doesn't take a day off unless his health is bad, right? You gotta have a reason to take a day off. How dare you? How dare you, right? So what does self-care look like for you today? We went through the history. What does it look like for us as we stand here today? We spoke a little bit about it in the icebreaker. but we're talking about radical. We just spoke about radical change. Cool. I know somebody here is taking care of themselves. Come on,
Yeah.
Miriam.
I'm trying to find my buttons. Yeah, I like you. How dare I decide to stay home and take a day? I do that. I do because as you have already heard, I got like about 1 million people in my life that I octopus for, that sometimes I do take a day and just sleep.
Yeah.
I take acupuncture treatment for myself.
Mhm.
I get massages. I definitely dance and listen to music and just sit here in my own zone. I sing real loud if I want to, right? But that moment of taking quote self-care, that mental health day that we don't give ourselves permission for, I make it my business to get permission for, because I ain't gonna say knock on wood because I heard a lot of bad things about that. But you know, as folks, I'm never, thank God, I'm never really sick ever. So I don't have a
Mhm.
reason to use 1,000 sick days that I have. So I
Mhm.
use that to take my granddaughter to the doctor, meet my daughter for this, take a movie in the middle of the day, right? I hope I'm not telling on myself, but yeah, things
Let me,
you gotta do.
can I let you in on a
Yeah.
secret?
I'm sorry.
Can I let you in on a secret?
Go ahead. You met me at the theater? No.
The secret is you can't tell on yourself. That's your time. See,
Listen, and that's
so that
exactly how I
that's what shows up.
work with that. That's
We feel
exactly
guilty. We feel guilty when we are take. Did you take the PTO? Right now, it's different if you're supposed to be on the clock and then you're in a
that's
movie
why
theater.
and so the guilt trip I ride is why I work until 7 to make sure I've covered everybody. As long as their emails come in before 5 o'clock, I will answer them. If they come in at 5:10, I'm like, they gotta wait till tomorrow. I don't work all night long.
Right, right. So what I hear you saying, no judgment, right? I just want to be clear though.
Yes.
I need to overwork in order for me to take the time that is issued to me, my time off.
Sometimes, yes,
Yeah,
only because, like I said, I don't get sick.
I
Thank
get that.
God. I'm rarely sick. Like my sickness that I go and get massage therapy and acupuncture for is arthritis. I'm 62. So I got arthritis in the shoulder. I might trip and fall in my yard picking vegetable. You see what I mean? I overwork picking up a car chair. So my reasonings are not I'm ill, so I got to take a break. But again, if I feel like I need to take a break, then I do. I make it my business to take a break. I think the
Mhm.
other part of it is being in a capacity where you service people, your compassion and your empathy overrides your personal sometimes need for, I just need to take a break, because I don't need to take a break. If those people are struggling, I need to be here for them. So yes, I am a glutton for, I must take care of. I tell people I was created and raised as a cater to, you can use that word, a cater to. I know how to cater to people. I'm
Yeah.
learning only at 50, deciding to learn, how do I cater to me? I am now worthy of being catered to. And so I take those moments, but I don't just go all willy-nilly about it, but I do that.
And I hear you, and I absolutely love that for you. I love that for you. Um, it makes me think of you will give 100%, right? And when it's time to replenish, you will replenish. I hear you saying you will replenish.
Absolutely.
It makes me think of, I'm going to use the regular cliche, cup half full, cup half empty, right? So sometimes I can hear that your cup may not necessarily be full. It may be halfway, which means you don't feel too bad. You feel okay, but you're going to give 100%, right? So you
But
give,
there's a new thing out about not giving from your cup, but giving from your overflow.
right.
So I believe I give from my overflow because I'm already full to capacity.
Okay.
Just in
Okay.
my own
Okay.
personal feeling of worth and self-love and compassion, I'm filled to capacity. So anything else that
Mhm.
I'm trickling out to folks is my overflow. If I sip 1 or 2 sips, then I'm taking a nap.
Okay.
My tummy is a little deplenished, then I'm on break. But if I'm got over in abundance, I'm a pop, so I have to give it. And so that's kind of how I see it. I believe after I got to a place of acknowledging that life can happen without me, I am not the be all, I'm not the wizard, I don't fix everything, that I need to be conscious of self-care for sure. And whatever that looks like. And so I made that a point to, I have a sign that someone created for me because I created for a bunch of other people that says worthy across my wall. And I look at it all the time to remind me that I am worthy. And that was my problem. I wasn't worthy. I was worthy to share and give, but I wasn't worthy to get back. I wasn't worthy to get given to. So I'm not looking for anybody else to get given to me. I get given to me. Right? And again, that overflow is where I believe I sit in my pouring.
I definitely hear you doing your work.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for you. I'm excited for hearing you redefine what self-care looks like for you, knowing that it needs to come from a place of overflow. And I ask that you continue to do that work. I love that for you. Yeah, I just don't want you feeling guilty for the things that are naturally yours.
Yeah, no,
Right?
that's past.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's gone. That's gone now. I'm finished that part.
Beautiful.
It's causing pain in my neck. I'm done with that one.
Beautiful.
I love that.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that for you. Thank you for sharing. Yes. Wonderful, wonderful. So we're going to, and we're going to play a little game, right? And it's called This or That. So Lily's going to read off some different topics, and you can just drop in the chat, would you get with this? Or would you get with that? Y'all remember the song? You could get with this, or you could get with that. You could get with this. Yes, Lisa. You get with this is where it's bad.
I love it. I love it.
Yes, yes. So she's gonna go off a few, and let's just see what comes up.
Alrighty. First one. Would you rather take a bubble bath or a hot shower?
How do you want it to respond in the chat?
You just put I like taking a bath. I feel like that. Shower. Oh, lots of shower. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Can we hear from a shower person? Why do you love taking a shower, a hot shower? Isa?
Honestly, it's because I'm a slight bit of a germaphobe and OCD. So the idea of sitting in the tub in my own filth, and people are like, well, just take a shower first. I've tried that. I've taken the shower,
You don't
cleaned
like
out my tub, run the tub, sitting there, and I just feel like a piece of beef and stew just doing in my own filth. And it's so not calming for me at all. So that's my own little idiosyncrasy.
That's
Love it.
very common. That is very common. I would not worry.
Wonderful.
Never bad. Let me.
What's the next one?
Next one is, would you rather go on a jog or ride a bike? This one is easy peasy lemon squeezy for me.
Okay.
I'm team bike.
Lisa's riding a bike. Lily's riding a bike. Muhammad's riding a bike. And Marie's gonna jog. Okay.
All
Miriam's gonna
right.
jog. Ooh,
Kayak.
we got kayak. That was not you cheating.
Okay, upstate New York.
Cheater, pumpkin eater.
We see
Love
you.
it. I want to kayak with you, by
I
the
love
way.
a kayak. I love a kayak that doesn't have a whole army of spiders in it. I'm gonna put that there. Yeah, I'm not into the being on the middle of the lake and going, oh, hello, friend.
Love that. Can we get one volunteer as to why they picked what they picked?
Mhm.
Well,
Okay.
I picked jog rather than bike because I might go further than I want to come back. If I
Mm.
jog, I go like, I'm setting my clock for 10 minutes only. How far I get in 10 minutes as far as I'm going. And I'm turning around, come back. But if I bike, I might go further than that, and then I'm tired and overwhelmed, and
You
I'm
might practice
mad.
more self-care, go visit a friend,
I'm
hang out a
sorry.
little bit. I said you
But
might practice more self-care. You might go visit a friend.
no, I'm
No.
new to Pennsylvania. I don't have any friends here.
Oh,
Yeah, so my children are my crew, and
got
we're
it.
always together. So yeah, no,
Got it.
they're gonna
Got
leave me.
it. All right.
All right.
The next one.
Would you rather take a sick day or work with a cold?
Okay, we got sick day. Muhammad. Miriam, don't cover your mouth. What would you rather do? Miss
Like,
I'm working with a
Miss
cold.
Overflow.
that.
Let's go.
Well,
What would you
yeah, I'm
do?
working with a cold, but no,
I'm
I'm
working
taking
with
a
a
sick
cold.
day because I always waste them. So no, I'm taking a sick day. I might have a slight headache right now. I don't know. I might need to go lay down.
I love it. You had to think about that for a second, though. I saw you
Yeah,
like,
I was
uh-oh.
covering my mouth because I was going to scream, sick day, get out of here. No.
Do it. We'd
Yeah.
love that. We'd love that. Nice. Lily work with a cold. Yes, you would, Lily. Come
Yeah,
on.
I would. Well, because we work hybrid, so I can just work from home. And I'm just trying to be honest. That's what I would
Fair
do.
enough. Fair enough. Okay.
Uh,
Can I get one volunteer as to why they chose what they chose?
Henry.
Unfortunately, I put work with a cold because I feel like I prioritize my mental health over my physical health, which is the weirdest thing for others because usually it's physical over mental. But I feel like I have to. So I'm like, there's not enough days.
Got
So
it.
that would probably be me, but I would definitely wear a mask and keep the 6 feet.
Yeah.
I love that. It made me
We're not
chuckle.
trying to get other people sick.
Right,
But I
right.
understand, Henry.
And I love that for you. This is the first time we've heard that statement that they prioritize you prioritize your mental health over your physical health. And I totally get that. What made me chuckle with that is if one of my kids had a cold, I'm sending them to school. So it depends on how bad it is, but little sniffles never hurt nobody. See you later. You got it at school. You're taking it back. Take it back where you gotta go. Take it back.
Well, I gotta bust a bubble on that. It really depends. My daughter works at a Head Start program. So when the
Mhm,
children come in sick and they have a little temperature, the rest of them get the cooties. And then I, who work
Mm.
from home, who clearly don't have a job, have to go pick up the kids and bring them
mhm.
home from school when they say, please keep your kid home. Folks give their babies Tylenol and ship them out. The temperature is
They
down
do.
far enough.
They do.
I have to come and pick them up and take them to the doctor and keep them for the next 2 days. So get your
Right.
mama's goodness out your refrigerator, them concoctions you got, and knock them things out at night. So, so you
I
know what? I don't have to pick your kids up.
I do that as well. I get you. I hear you. It's the level of the cold. I won't send them to suffer. But a
Okay.
little sniffle, oh, we going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Get your
yeah,
book bag on. Let's
yeah,
go.
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
carry it for you, matter of fact.
yeah.
Love it.
No, totally understand that. I had perfect attendance in middle school, so I definitely was going I was going to school sick.
Without a
Um,
mask, really. That was before mask time
that
too.
was before math time. Yeah.
Was all right.
All righty, we're about
That was fun.
halfway through, people. Um,
Yes, we are.
and our next section is on the impact of self-care on marginalized communities. I know we already talked about this a little bit. We're going to talk about it a little bit more, because why not? Okay, did you know that marginalized communities often face heightened levels of stress, discrimination, societal pressures, making self-care essential for maintaining well-being? And this is just a proven fact. Like we talked about it anecdotally, but I think personally, I feel reassured when I see like empirical evidence. So yeah.
All right, so practicing self-care as a team. In a team environment, the significance of self-care extends beyond preventing premature burnout. It serves as a vital mechanism for individuals to maintain their physical, mental, and emotional well-being despite sustained stress. By equipping team members with self-care tools and cultivating culture that prioritize individual wellness, organizations can mitigate the risk of burnout and foster supportive environment where employees feel valued and supported. Right. So, what are ways that you can practice self-care while you are at work? We spoke about it a little bit, but some things that come to mind for me is having boundaries. Right. Sometimes self-care at work can also be saying no. Right. Self-care at work can also be something as simple as letting your supervisor know where you are within your work so that they know what they can issue to you and what they can't issue to you. Letting them be being transparent with your team as to who you are and how you show up, anything that you're comfortable with. Like, I'm a person, my whole team knows that I'll sit there and go, listen, I have ADHD and my brain only works at a certain capacity. Like this, and for me, it's not divulging too much. It's me really supporting myself and also asking for the support. So instead of having people assume that they know, we have an understanding. They know when it comes to Stacy, she's going to give it her all. It doesn't mean that I can't do certain things, but I need it in a certain order, right? And you're going to get it in a certain order, or my brain is going to start doing what it does, and I'm not even sure what it does sometimes, right? And if I don't get it out of under control, it's going to stop. I'm going to sit there and fixate over one thing over and over, and I will get nothing done. So I help my team to help me, and that's self-care for me. So given those examples, what are some things that you can do or you have done that shows how you practice self-care at work as a team? I have not heard, I don't know if you're in a position to speak, but I have not heard Binaj's voice yet. I've seen your finger going. How do you feel about sharing?
I have not spoken, but I've been writing.
You have.
Thank you.
You have.
Oh, so self-care, what we do at work, right? We do once a month, we have a art project. We do, make stuff. My supervisor is here too, so she may want to add something. No, okay, she's not on the computer. She's on phone. But yeah, we do that once a month, and we have a thing called self-care day. So we have an hour. We just create art, and it's really really helpful, really um, calming, therapeutic. And we love it, you know. And it's also like we talked about, like earlier. I'm kind of uh, it's a lot, kind of shocked to know, about self-care and the history, how it began. So when we do this self-care like workshop, it makes you feel like you are something special, that you are being valued, that you are being, respected. And also it's a time for ourselves to like bond with our co-workers, so yeah, uh and that's about it for now.
Amazing. That's
I love
amazing.
that. But Naj, I just want you to know, it did something for me to hear from you. You had so much to share. And I'm not saying that you haven't typed. I think I just needed the urge I just needed to hear your voice.
Right.
Thank you for
no, the reason that I'm in a setting, I have a co-workers as also that I thought I would rather like turn my audio off.
Got it.
Got it. I just want you to know that I feel special that I heard your voice, is what I'm communicating.
Oh, thank you so much, Stacy.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh,
It's true. I don't know why. It did something for me. Anne Marie, I see your hands up.
I was thinking self-care and a team could be, you know, kind of collaborating and see who's good at what, who's not so good at things. So talking about strengths and weaknesses, and then trying to balance out those so that everybody's comfortable with taking on some challenges, but also what they're good at.
yeah.
I love that, Emery, because that's what we do here. Like, we completely understand who does what, how they do it, what their strengths are. And I don't think, personally, I don't think it's fair to expect everyone to do the same thing at the same capacity. Where we come on, we're hired, and we all have our specific strengths, right? So I may be able to do a little more in one area, and the other person, because they're good at that, they can do, and we now become a whole. So I love that you said that. Like, even when Lily and we work together, I know that the things that I'm not great at, she is amazing at. And the
And
balance
vice
is so,
versa.
right.
vice
And the
versa.
balance is so beautiful that I think we like low key get excited. I do, at least. I'm like, oh, Lily, of course. Because there's no going back and forth. It's just like, she can count on me for this. I can count on her for this. And we're like, okay, my favorite thing is not her favorite thing, and her favorite thing isn't mine. So she can have her work. She can
Yes.
have it. So I love that you said that, Anne Marie. Thank you for sharing. And that's what makes a complete team, right? And that's the taking care of. Yeah.
Yeah. Very true.
All right. Nice. I get so stuck on slides. I'm like, ooh, let's talk about this some more. But we have to keep it moving. So here's some ideas, self-care practices is having mindful conversations. Honestly, like, since COVID, things have shifted a little bit, but for a lot of us, it's still the same, that the people that you work with, you spend more time with them than you spend with your family, period. You wake up in the morning, you take care of your family, you send them out. Nice. In the afternoon, you have max 2, 3 without making dinner or picking up dinner, bath, the work, the have to get ready for the next day. It's far and few. It's very little time reading with the kids or, having a conversation. So have mindful conversations, like really get to know your coworkers. you get terms of, this is my work bestie, my work husband, my work wife, like be light on those labels, but at the same time, we understand it. But that's because you spend so much time and you take care of each other, like Anne Marie said. Right? Setting boundaries. I mentioned that before. Knowing when to say no, knowing when to say yes. Like you can't do but so much anymore. When to get up and take a walk, when to walk around the block. You guys have shared, well, I'm working on saying guys, so my apologies for that. I just want you to not make a mental note of it. You all have shared some really great ways that you set boundaries and like really take care of yourself when it comes to that. Join a workout group. Sometimes we're sitting there and we have the motivation. We don't have time to do it at home, but why not do it together? Invite someone to do the walk with you. Some jobs, and even if they don't have it, they have like the workout group that you can do together. They have incentives, or create an incentive for yourself if that's something that you're looking to do. Sometimes some people really don't have a workout goal, but they're so much like Miriam, want to support others that they'd be more than happy to watch you win, and they'll do it with you. A little working out, strengthening and staying strong. You don't use it, you lose it, right? Exercise outdoors, which is like walk. Share old photos of each other. I mean, yeah, sharing old photos. This is, we had this. It doesn't even have to be of yourself when you were younger or way back in, but we're taking pictures all the time. Go ahead and remind each other why we connected. Practice healthier eating. Encourage each other, because I know I might want to practice self-care and I'm having a hard time. But if you come in with a pizza and you come in with a burger and I'm hungry, I'm going to want to. but you get to do it as a team. Hey, Lily, hey, Muhammad, I see that you are really, I have a salad. You want to share the salad with me? Something. People think that, okay, I'm putting you in on a secret, right? I'm a very sharing person, and people think I share a lot of times because I really want to share. I'm sharing because of self-care. It stops me from overeating. So I will buy it and I will share it, and it's a way that I'm taking care of myself. And it is a double-edged sword, right? Well, that's not a good analogy, but it has two parts to it.
Yeah.
Right? It's winning. I'm being generous. I'm being nice, which I really do care because I'm a people pleaser by nature. I really care about how people feel. But also, I'm winning with that as well. I'm not gonna eat all those fries. Playing board games when you have a chance, after work. Some of us are alone. All of us don't have a family to go back to, and these are the people you're spending a lot of time with. If you think it's suitable, and you have the time and the energy, do that. And having a karaoke night, like sometimes depending on the work that you do or the department that you're in, it can be really strenuous. Find times to connect and see the best in each other and like really have good laughs in those connected moments. So these are some ways that you can practice self-care as a team. Any activities, those are just to like name a few.
Now I
Right?
have to add do an art project to this.
Go ahead. No.
No, we have to add like do an art project together to this list. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So just curious. I feel like there's a lot of people pleasers in this room.
Yes.
But we're just curious, have you ever felt guilty for taking a break, for taking your lunch, for taking PTO or sick days, going to the doctor, or just, or just simply sleeping?
I have. I felt guilty for all of them. Everything at one point or another. And depending on when it is, I'm working on my nose.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if I want to do something, like my no meter was so broken that I had to create a practice of saying no. I went to an event a couple of weeks ago and I got dressed and I'm like, yeah, but if someone's like, come on, let's do it, I'll feel bad. Even if I don't want to do it, I'm like, okay, I'll do it. But this time I went with my no. I was prepared. I was dressed in case I said yes. Like, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna trust myself entirely, but I stood firm on my no. So my no meter, even yesterday, I don't know if you noticed, I was in a meeting and I had my little putty and someone asked me for my putty and I was like, normally I would give it up. And I was like, nope, I'll get you one. This one is mine. So yeah. So yes, at some point or the other, I have felt guilty for taking all of them, but now, not so much. I'll consider it strongly.
Well, congratulations, Stacey.
Thank you.
I'm sensing that maybe
in the chat, Miriam said sick day. She feels bad taking a sick day.
Oh no, I think that was from the this or that.
Oh. Oh, that definitely was from the this or that. That was 17 minutes ago. Oh, okay.
I'm almost like the opposite of you, Stacey. I don't have a lot of no's when it comes to folks. If I can do it, I do. What I have is a problem with the yes. And the yes is not for them. The yes is for me. When someone wants to give me something, for instance, you want to share your thing, I'm going to say, I don't know. That's okay. I don't need it. And I could be starving. My belly could be grumbling, but I won't say, yes, thank you. I can have that. Or if I'm doing things for you and you want to pay me because I've created this whole meal for you at your house so you don't have to cook, can I give you $10? No, thank you. I had a problem with the yes. At 50, I said, I'm going to change. And I'm going to say yes to any and everything anybody offers me, long as it doesn't hurt me or someone else, and see what God does.
That's a little different. And I say that's a little different. Along with my no, I also had that problem. And my yes meter was broken too. That's called having a problem receiving support. Right? So it's alongside. All of that isn't where receiving support, even though you created the meal and they wanted to pay you for it, you had a problem receiving, right? So now we have to realize that the worthy, and you're saying that you're working on it, right? So, and I don't know if it's in the past or it's still there.
No, it's in the past. I say yes to everything. Yes to that. You bothering
Good.
me? No, I don't want to talk to you. 10,
Right. I
don't
had
call
to
me before 10 o'clock. Yes.
that part, yes, you absolutely are currently working on it. And I
Yes.
had to like make up little sayings about myself, like, nope, I don't turn down money. Like I have to feed myself certain things. Like I don't fight over money. If I ask you something or you give it to me, yep, I'm taking it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Because that's my motto. I don't turn down money. So little things to help me remember, or I would have a problem saying it. So yeah, it's the support, is receiving support.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And self-care is receiving support. If you're going to give it, give it, give it, and you're giving from the overflow and, or from your cup, making sure it's not empty, you have to be able to allow, because here's the other thing. Some people are really looking for opportunities, especially people like you. They're looking for opportunities to give back. Now, when you don't allow them to give back, you're being a disservice, not only to yourself, but also to them. Because while they can come to you and they know they can rely on you for something, they don't want to be takers, right? So
Right.
now they're not coming to ask you for help anymore because they don't want to take advantage of you. So
Right.
now nobody's being served,
Right. That's
right?
where I came to that place of, yes, I've been working on it. And so I'm in that spot. And the message that came to me on how to make that happen is, how does it feel when you do something for someone else? It's unfair for you to not allow the other person to have that same
Mm,
feeling. So you
Right.
have to be fair and balanced. You
You're
want to
taking
feel
their
happy
blessing
because
I
you
away.
love
gave,
that. Yeah.
someone else has to feel happy because they gave to
Yes.
you as well. So it's not a thing.
You're serving with joy and they want to serve you with joy after all the things that you've
Exactly.
done. And that's for everyone. I'm sure everyone. Some people have that issue, some people don't, but that's food for thought. Thank you for sharing that.
Alrighty. So to ease us back in, we're gonna watch this video from Alicia Garza, who is one of the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement.
When Audre Lorde talked about self-care being an act of self-preservation, an act of political warfare, what she was saying ostensibly is that we weren't ever meant to survive. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about self-care is that self-care is for white people who are rich or wealthy, and that self-care has to involve buying something to make you feel better. So lots of times people will say things like, go get a massage, go to the spa, take a yoga class. And all of those things cost money. There's a huge misconception that if you can't afford to do that, right, that you also are not able to take care of yourself. We have to be in it for the long haul. What I think is kind of getting in the way is this notion that you have to completely spend yourself dry to prove that you're down, to prove that you're a part of the movement, to prove that you can take it. And the reality is, given the state of our political conditions, given the state of what's happening in this country and around the world, we should be preparing ourselves for a long fight. One specific example of something that we do at the Black Futures Lab, before we start our meetings, we ask each other, how are you doing? What's something that's amazing that's happened to you this week? What's something that's causing you anxiety? What's something that disappointed you, right? We move through different questions to check in because we're so used to having to leave our authentic selves outside of our workplace to be able to cover up any pain or grief or rage or happiness or elation that we're experiencing just to get the job done. And I know that that's a barrier for some people when we talk about radical self-care. They're like, well, I don't want to talk about my feelings all day. We actually have work to get done. And I'm like, yes, hallelujah, we have work to get done. But sometimes the work can't move unless we allow people in their 3 dimensions to be present. I've been a part of this work for a long time, and I've seen many institutions, movements, organizations crumble because we haven't prioritized collective care and what it means to build radically new relationships with each other and with ourselves. If we study where we've come from, what we know is that the government has created programs to create chaos and discord inside of organizations that have the potential to really change the status quo. They created government programs called COINTELPRO, which were deliberately designed to infiltrate organizations and to play on their strongest weaknesses. So what's at stake if we don't do it? We'll have less institutions that we can offer for our communities that are healthy and whole. We will lose the ability to move our communities in a direction that is hopefully towards freedom, because our communities won't trust each other and we won't trust ourselves. And fundamentally, we'll lose the ability to not just build power, but to transform it. We don't want to replace one form of power with another form in which Black people or people of color are implementing and enacting the same toxic dynamics that the people who are in power now are enacting. We fundamentally have to be oriented and organized around transforming the ways that we be together, the ways in which resources are distributed in our communities, and the ways that we get to make decisions over our own well-being and the well-being of others. And that means that we have to be radical in our caring for each other, caring for our communities, and caring for the future that is right at our fingertips.
Could we hear from one person on the response to the video? I know it was a little choppy. But like, oh, Isa?
I find it fascinating that in Western societies, especially those that were colonized by Europeans, that the concept of community care is radical, right? Like in most communities of color, indigenous communities, communities outside of Europe, and even to a certain extent, you know, some European communities that are small and maybe impoverished. Community care is part and parcel to everyday life. Like there's no there's no existing without community care. You know, there's an African saying, if you want to go far, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together, right? So like how the concept of, to me, community care isn't radical. It is the most fundamental, basic human act. We're social beings. We're meant to care for one another. We're meant to be in communities. But it just struck me that we see that as radical in the context of how hyper individualized American and European societies are. And in the face of that whole individual, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, that community care would be considered radical is just really interesting to me.
Yeah, one of my good friends in college was from Rwanda. And I remember having a conversation with her about what was the most surprising to her about the United States. Like what really, I don't know, what was she the most like culture shocked by? And I honestly expected to hear like, oh, well, we have mass shootings and we have all these different things that go on that you wouldn't expect in a country like the United States. And she's like, it's the way that you guys take care of the elderly. Like that was by far and away the most shocking thing, because she's like, you guys, you send them away into these homes and they're away from you. And it's like she's like, I've never seen any of that in my entire life, because in her culture, in her country, in her family, it's like my great grandma lives with us. My grandma lives with us. Like they're all here, you know, and they're with us and the family. So, and you're totally right. Yeah, like this idea of collective care is radical. And something that she points out in the video is that we're not going to solve things by just having more diversity in the systems that already exist, because the systems that exist now are oppressive. Like we have to reimagine them entirely. So yeah, lots of juicy bits in this video. Thank you so much for your reflection. I'm gonna skip this to time. And we're gonna move on to some tips and tricks for self-care. Hopefully you guys can leave here a little bit of a plan.
Wonderful. Yes, that is the whole reason why we came, right? So just considering, yeah, it's radical, but it's our human right, and we don't have to have a wealth of finances in order to do that. We can practice self-care right where we are with what we have on us at this very moment, despite whatever it may seem, right? So engaging in self-care is like strengthening a muscle. It is not a singular it is not singular event, but requires ongoing dedication and effort. Self-care helps you to thrive and experience your optimal self, right? So stress is a major contributor to a wide array of chronic illnesses and general health issues, including hypertension, depression, digestive problems, autoimmune system, heart disease, anxiety, etc. Right? So it can help you to improve your general health when you are taking care of that. Make an effort to organize your time and affairs can lead to increased productivity, having an enhanced focus on tasks that are priority, right? Individuals who prioritize self-care activities such as regular exercise, adequate rest, and healthy eating, and pursuing hobbies, interests they involve, that they enjoy, can increase the motivation. It increases your ability to control your emotions by prioritizing it heightens your self-awareness and enables you to recognize and understand your emotions even more. It boosts your self-esteem and confidence. You know, it makes you capable of motivating individuals in both positive and negative ways. It reduces anxiety and stress. It increases your self-awareness and creates healthy relationships with yourself, the most important person in your life. I like to say that in our lives, we are often playing a part. It's like a movie, and everyone has roles. And sometimes when we're not practicing self-care, we tend to give everyone else the leading role, and we become a co-star in our movie. You don't really take the scene and take it where it needs to go. But just remember that in your life, not everyone else's, because everyone has a leading role in their own life. Make sure that you are the star of yours and give everyone else co-star parts. Some people have bigger roles than others, but in this life, in yours, you're the star. So keep that in mind and make sure that you take care of yourself.
Definitely. Okay, so this is a self-care wheel. You don't have to read all the little words on there. It's just the buckets that are the most important. And this wheel really shows, what I like about this wheel is that it shows the different types of self-care. And it also shows them as equal pieces of the pie. You know, it's not like emotional self-care is like this huge thing, or physical, it's huge. It's like they're all equal. So physical self-care, psychological self-care, emotional, spiritual, personal, and professional. I had definitely not really thought about professional self-care as a way of taking care of myself before researching for this training. So this is a really good way of kind of introducing the concept of like the different types of self-care, that it's not just about your physical health, it's not just about your emotional health. It's about your professional and your spiritual and your personal. And the collective is in all of these, you know? So yeah, and this is a great model to bring to families and youth. One that comes up a lot in conversations about self-care that's kind of on this wheel is like financial self-care. So that would kind of fall under personal self-care. But yeah, like taking care of your finances, like making sure that you're okay. That can be really challenging, but all of that is a part of making sure that we're happy and healthy. Okay.
Wonderful. So keep it in mind. It's like taking stock of your strengths and weaknesses. In self-care, there are signs and symptoms that can support you with that, because self-care is not just taking action. It's the first step in knowing the areas where you need to work and what you need to do well in order to, and knowing where you need to improve in. Yeah, a little tongue twister there. So symptoms of burnout, of stress includes, but not limited to, muscle tension, right? You know, how we sit there and it's just like, what's going on? Sometimes when people see you and you're tense, they know something is wrong. You ever had someone when you see them at hello, when they answer the phone, immediately you're like, what's wrong? Or when you walk into the room, you're like, oops, something is definitely going on there. You can't hide it because these signs and symptoms are showing up. Some are visual and some are not, right? So muscle tension, someone can see when you're kind of tense. Disrupted sleep patterns, alcohol and substance abuse, heart disease, high blood pressure. I know when you go to the doctor for high blood pressure, one of the first questions they ask you is, are you stressed about something? What's going on in your life? They start taking a survey, right? Feeling angry, sad, or indifferent, and over and under eating. So what a lot of people don't, I think we're getting more and more knowledgeable about this and more aware to it. It's like, it's a saying, with dis-ease creates disease, right? So it can be the simplest things, that biting your jaw, or sitting, walking a different way, you know, the migraines, it can create a lot of discomfort. And these are just a few of the signs and symptoms for you to realize that you're stressed. Something as simple as, I had a moment where I really, getting personal with you all, okay? Just so you know, I had a moment in my life where I stopped wearing deodorant, only because I knew when I sweat, before I can feel it, I can smell it. Right. And I wanted to get it under control. There's good stress sweat too, but it's just, I knew my natural body odor wasn't, and it smelled different from working out or doing something like that. But as soon as I'm under pressure, those hormones start to release, and you get, and I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that I'm getting stressed out. So even a conversation that was getting unhealthy, I knew that I needed to step back because it will start to release that specific odor, and be like, oh, I need to wheel back. So there's different things that you can do. I'm not suggesting that you do that, but that's just something that I did, and it helped. It helped a lot because I didn't realize that I was being as stressed as I was at the time. So just food for thought. And you can find tricks and tricks and tips. I combined the words. You saw what I did there, tricks. And I'm not going to say it again because it's not ready to come out again. That works for you.
I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, and notice when you're at work, okay, am I hunching? Am I like, because lots of people store
Absolutely.
stress in their neck. Like, what am I? Learn about yourself, I think it's important.
And if someone is asking you, hey, what's going on? Is something wrong? It's might be an indicator because you're showing it before you can even feel it,
Right.
right? And you're not hiding it very well.
Yeah.
So that's a moment, use that moment to reflect as well.
Totally.
And on the other side of that, there are some examples of self-care that you can practice while you're at work. Maintaining regular sleeping routine, of course, so that when you get to work, you are fully functional. You're not feeling as exhausted. Eating healthy foods, spending time in nature, doing a hobby that you enjoy, practicing gratitude, exercise, hygiene. We just spoke about that a little bit. Setting goals, socializing, healthy financial habits, setting boundaries. All of these are things that can contribute to how you show up at work. When something is off, it shows up in other areas. So you take care of these things behind the scenes, and a lot of time, and vice versa, things that can be a bother or stressful to you at work. When you go home, your family has to deal with that, or even just you by yourself. It crosses over. One, even if it has nothing to do with the other thing, it crosses over, in the people around you that deal with you at work or the people that deal with you at home, they know that it's crossing. So be very aware of that. So practice these ways of self-care as well. And we're going to be sharing these slides with you. So in the resources, we have put together a big list of self-care activities. And you can check one things that works for you that you can use or put into play.
Yep. Okay, so here's some 3 methods that we're going to highlight. And these are scientifically proven ways to improve your mental and physical health, and to take care of yourself. First one, oh wait, I'm sorry. A little reminder is that anything that you choose should be accessible, affordable, and attractive. You should want to do it. It shouldn't be something that's like, I gotta do that. Like we talked about earlier, it's like, for me, going on a jog sounds absolutely awful. But I would much rather go ride a bike. So whatever it is, it should be those three things. But one that's really easy is walking. I know we talked about that, whether you're walking to the water cooler or walking around your neighborhood. I love that we're walking. Some benefits that you might not have even known is that it boosts your immune system, reduces the risk of breast cancer, it eases joint pain, and it lowers your risk for depression, and it gives you an overall mood boost. I read this study a long time ago about if you go on a walk and you give yourself a prompt to like think about wonder, if you're thinking about things that make you curious, they actually saw the positive effects of walking like quadruple. It's really interesting. So super cool. Walking is fantastic. Social connections. So we are social creatures. We talked all about the communal, like we've been talking about communal action and all that, but like we need to hang out. We're currently living in a loneliness epidemic. Mohammed and I will actually be doing a training on the loneliness epidemic in a while. I can't remember the date. But loneliness is almost as bad for you as smoking. It's really, really dangerous to be lonely. And being social, I think this is so cool. Just hanging out with your friends, it helps you recover better from physical and mental illnesses, and it helps us maintain those healthy habits. Like what Stacey was talking about. Okay, are we going to the salad place for lunch? Are we going to the, like fried chicken place or wherever? Like, how can we keep each other accountable and do all these things? And then I think, especially in these hyper scheduled, worlds, we tend to just like, okay, we're going to do this at this, and we're going to have this agenda. And it's like, there has to be time for just like hanging out. Just hang out. Be with your friends. Don't have a set goal from it. Just be with your community. And it will help you. So I think if it helps, you are being productive by just hanging out because you're improving your health.
And loneliness is different from being alone.
Yeah.
All right. So make sure, because being alone sometimes can be a choice. A lot of times it is a choice. I need to be alone. I reset when I'm alone. Right? Loneliness is the desire to be around people and you feel as though no one gets you, understands you, and you're doing this forcefully, well, not forcefully, involuntarily alone.
Yep. Yeah. So it could mean like being a little bit more vulnerable. Maybe you have someone that you live with. You might live with a lot of people, but saying like, I'm going to really talk about what I'm going through, because I feel really lonely in this feeling. Again, letting other people support you and love on you, that can help as well.
I just want to throw one more thing in there.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we don't receive help, just speaking for myself, not receiving help can make me feel lonely.
Yeah.
And I can set it up to feeling like I'm alone in what I'm doing when I have support. I've learned that. So that's part of why I started saying yes.
I understand. That yeah. Okay. So a little bit about me. I have been practicing yoga for like half my life. And I actually started practicing yoga with my mom when she was supporting her friend through stage 4 breast cancer and eventually her death. So this was something that really helped us bond and take care of ourselves during a challenging time. So here's some restorative yoga poses that are very easy, and they're active enough where you're going to get all them good benefits, but they're really restful. They're meant to take ease off certain joints. So this is legs up a wall. All you got to do is get your butt really close to a wall and then swing your legs up. If you're a person that is on your feet all day, which I've definitely been that person, and for different jobs, this is really good. It just takes weight off your ankles. It gets all of the nasty, gooey stuff that settles down in your feet, and it just flips it upside down. And it's really good for your lymph nodes as well. This is supported bridge. All you got to do is put a pillow underneath on your tailbone, and then put your body like how she's in this picture, and that's really good for your hips She has like a weighted blanket over her hips too, which feels really good. And I will just also say, like, for survivors of sexual trauma, throwing like a nice blanket over that square, like, can be very helpful as well. Can make these poses a little bit more accessible. And it just feels great. This is child's pose. There are two different kinds here. Both are really good for your lower back, really good for your hips, really good for your shoulders, where we store so much tension. So there's one where her hands are out. There's one where she's kind of like in a little bug. Both are good for your shoulders in different ways. There's a different stretch. And they're also really good for the back of your neck, which is where I store a lot of stress as well. And then last but not least, supported corpse pose. I don't know if anybody sleeps with like a pillow between their legs. This is just another way of assuming that position. You just lie down, you put a pillow, a couple pillows underneath your legs. It feels great. Listen to like a 5-minute meditation. This is epic. Personally, I cannot meditate if I'm just sitting there. Like I get really fidgety. I'm opening my eyes. I'm like a little kid. But lying down really helps me get to the zone. Okay. So why is all of this so important? People with lived experiences and trauma, we have to take care of our minds, bodies, and souls. I'm a big believer, if you have experienced trauma that is quite profound, it's a journey for the rest of your life. It's not always, sometimes it's worse, sometimes it's better, but it's always there. And it's really important that we take care of ourselves. And also, like Miriam was mentioning, it's like, we want to stay in this work. We're all here because we love helping people and we love being there. But if we're going to be answering crisis calls, if we're going to be doing that kind of stuff, we have to take care of ourselves so that we're in it for the long haul. And we have to show ourselves that love and that care that we may have been denied, and also breaking that cycle, breaking all of those systems that we talked about before with radical love and care. And lastly, it's like we may have barriers. It might be really hard, but we are no less deserving. And I think it's important to remind ourselves that, oh, I may want to get a massage. I can't do that right now financially, but that doesn't mean I'm not deserving of it. It doesn't mean the people who can afford it are more deserving.
And in addition, if we continue to take care of our bodies, our minds, and our souls, we can continue to do the wonderful work that we are out here doing.
Totally. All right. So our last discussion question is, what is something that you learned today about self-care that you could maybe share with families and youth that you work with? And then what's something, or what is something that you would want to bring into your self-care routine? You can feel free to put it in the chat or
Speak on it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I said, or speak on it.
Oh, exactly. Practice more often. I love that. Hope you feel powered after today.
Anyone else?
Isa?
Yeah, I think what I'd like to bring into my self-care routine is a lack of guilt around when I need to do things for myself, or I still buy into this very Western model of if you're not productive, you're useless, you're worthless kind of thing. And the word productivity or being productive is, I'm learning to see that as a trigger for how I'm being used and not being good to myself. So not just thinking that I have to be productive all of the time, and allowing myself to take whatever self-care modalities without justifying that I've been this amount of productive, so therefore I'm deserving of it. I'm a human being, not a human doing, and that just I have to keep that at the forefront of my head.
I love all these terms that I'm learning. I'm learning so much. I'm a houseplant with legs. Miriam said, I'm octopussing. I love that. I'm a human being, not a human doing. I'm writing this all down. Miriam said, don't feel bad about the yes. That's my interpretation. I would say that, Miriam.
I felt the
and then
emphasis on that. Yes.
yes. And then I also recommend meditation. Yep.
Beautiful.
Yeah, okay, that's
So-
perfect. Oh, Stacey, I'm sorry.
No, I have nothing. I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed these 2 hours spent with you. Thank you for showing up the way that you all showed up. It has been a privilege and enjoyment. I had a little fun. My hopes is that you had some fun and you learned, and I feel like I know all of you better than when we came in, and I just thank you. Thank you for your contribution.
Yes, thank you so
It's my
much.
first time with you as a presenter, and I love you dearly. I appreciate you very much. Yeah, absolutely.
Stacey's
Appreciate
easy
that.
to love.
Thank you, Issa. Thank you, thank you. All right. So here we have a post assessment. If you can take a survey for us, it's really important. It lets us know how you enjoyed it. It lets us know areas that we can improve. And you'll also get, well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you'll get a copy of the slides.
They should, yeah.
Yeah. And in that, we didn't go over it, there's a self-care plan. In that self-care plan, what it would allow you to do is you can look at each area of your life and you create an action plan. It's like SMART goals around your self-care. So you'll be looking at what it is, the goal that you actually want to achieve and how you'll go about it. You'll check into your community, your natural resources, and really set it up so you can see how possible achieving that goal really is. So I look forward to knowing, because I may not hear that you used it or how you used it, but I'm really hoping that you will take it, utilize it in moving forward and making sure you take that time and don't feel guilty for it, of taking care of yourself. Because when you take care of yourself, you give others permission to do the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. I just
You're
want to
welcome.
say, I came from one training on grief to this training, so there was just so much. And then I run a support group a little later. So if you haven't heard about it, feel free to come on by. And in the process of doing that, I found a wheel, because one of the conversations in the training was that we don't have language, or something else I was watching. We don't always have language to identify what we're feeling. And
Yeah.
so instead of saying I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling happy, and it was a wheel of other words to add to that. So I just
love
wanted
that.
to offer that as a thought for us to, also look that up when we're trying to find those words to express what we're feeling, as opposed to saying I'm really tired. It might not be tired. It could be a bunch of other things, and that helps us
Right.
focus inward on how to really service ourselves better, and part of that self-care. So I copied it. I'm going to put it on my wall, find new words.
I appreciate that. Thanks for dropping that jewel,
Yes, ma'am.
Miriam, and we're definitely going to look into that.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
All right.
Thank you. All right, well, it is going to be 2:00 in a
And
minute.
we're turning it back over to you. Is that a picture? Or is he actually?
Oh, I'm here.
Hello.
Just listening intently.
Love
Stacey
that.
Lily Mohammed, thank you so much for being with us today with N.A.P.S and our N.A.P participants. I was overhearing what you were sharing, and I'm actually going to go back and review this when I can focus a bit more on it, because I feel like this was a lot of really important information for everyone to take heed and to take care of ourselves so that we can better take care of others. So thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you everyone for joining.
Thank
and
you.
I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
That is so kind.